Hello, good morning, everyone. So, for today, we are going to propose to you the Share Lang Namin podcast. To start our presentation, I would like to introduce to you the members of our group. My name is Kimsey.
Joseph Canayon.
Jonas Lafiguera.
Moses T.
And I'm Samson.
Thank you. But before we start proposing the actual podcast, I'd first like to tell you what nationalism is based on our understanding as a group. So, have you ever heard people say, Filipino ka ba? Or, pero paano ka naging Filipino? Or, ano ba pinagkaiba niyo sa mga karatig bansa ng Pilipinas? Well, the answer to this question is exactly our viewpoint, the organization and preservation of our national identity based on our characteristics as Filipinos. And these characteristics can be in the form of language, culture, places, food, religion, beliefs and myths, even music, and so much more. It is whatever that can help us define a person as a Filipino and differentiate us from other nations. So now to showcase to you what our podcast would be like, I would like to give the floor to Joseph and Jonas.
Thank you, Kim. In light of everything that was discussed, one might ask, why a podcast? The group decided to form a podcast as our medium to express our ideas in a fluid manner. We believe that a podcast is the best choice to showcase our thoughts and ideas because podcasts are the most suitable choice to disseminate information, especially for the youth who are now more technology-based. Now, about the name of our podcast, we've decided to choose Share Lang Namin Podcast as our name because we want the setting of our podcast to be casual and informative to our listeners. As for the format of our podcast, there will be 6 episodes in total, with each episode lasting 5 to 10 minutes. The topic that the group will be discussing will be topics in the country that we find interesting and culturally significant to our goal of fostering nationalism. The 6 goals, the episodes are divided into 2 distinct themes. Each episodes, 1 to 3, would be revolving around the country's national identity, while episodes 4 to 6 are about the cultural aspects of the country. To elaborate on these episodes, I would like to ask Jonas to briefly discuss the content of some of these episodes.
Thank you, Joseph. For the 6 episodes, we decided to make the titles a bit informal so that the Filipino youth can easily grasp and understand the theme for each episode. In the first episode, titled Lumipad ang aming team, the episode will be a short intro to Philippines and how the podcast can foster nationalism. In the second episode, titled Carps Bro, G, it talks about the symbolic places here in our country, Philippines. In the third episode, titled Talaga, Ikwento Mo Nga, in this episode, we will talk about our language, baybayin, and other dialects in the country. The fourth episode, titled La Fiesta Yarn, as mentioned in the title, it is about fiestas and why we celebrate it. The fifth episode, titled Manong Para Po. Here, we will be talking about vehicles used in the Philippines, like our famous jeepneys and tricycle. For the sixth and last episode, titled 4446 Dancing Queen. In the last episode, we will be talking about Philippine music, how it evolved, and what influenced it to become what we call OPM today. For the sample podcast, Rafael would be showing it in a short while.
Love them or hate them, these 2 modes of transportation have been a symbol about our country. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Jeep and the trike. What were leftover US military vehicles, refurbished by Filipinos, jeepneys have become a staple of not only the country's culture, but also a backbone of a nationwide transportation system. Painted all throughout with vibrant colors, these vehicles not only present a cultural importance, but also a large contributor to the social infrastructure of the country. Trikes, on the other hand, represent a resilient side of Filipinos. Where jeepneys are viewed as workhorses powering the city's urban travel, trikes are viewed as MacGyver-esque vehicles. Or in other words, a vehicle made out of something you see in your sight. From aluminum to screen wire, trike sidecars are usually made with scrap parts symbolizing the ingenuity of Filipinos. Nations all over the world have modernized, and when you see a cultural symbol of transportation in a certain place, it is usually just a tourist attraction with its sole purpose to gain tourist money, like the camel rides in the Middle East. But a few countries like the Philippines do not view these cultural symbols as tourist attractions alone, but rather an everyday necessity that benefits its citizens.
So that's all, guys. But wait, before we end, I think you all have this question in mind. Like, how can this project help in fostering nationalism among Filipino youth? And why did we choose the podcast as our product? So, to begin with, we all know that podcasts are the new talk shows nowadays. It's convenient for people with just a click of a button can already casually listen to a conversation that can relate to. So, a simple conversation is the easiest way to open a dialogue that could address questions about nationalism or the history of nationalism. Moreover, it can also tackle one's cultural belief and ingrained nationalistic ideals. So, one way or another, podcasts can boost or make people think of one's nationalism towards their community or country because these topics are not the common topics that most of us will talk about it every day. So, with the help of advancement of technology, podcasts are becoming part of the usual norm of youth, especially the millennials and the Gen Z. With more engaging podcasts inclined towards the portrayal of nationalism, the youth can have more avenues to learn and hopefully practice the sense of nationalism in their everyday lives. And additionally, I would like to say we are inspired by Rizal to choose a podcast as our product because ideally, if Jose Rizal is alive today, he would probably do a podcast like what we're doing right now because of his willingness to open a conversation with the Spaniards. And more importantly, I say this because Rizal himself is a reformist, not a revolutionary.
Hey guys, nasa na kayo? Ina-enjoy nyo na siguro yung podcast, no? Kaya ako na nga kayo para dumami listeners natin. Anyways, I believe that after stating all of that, it would come across your mind how would these perspectives on nationalism affect or complement the core values of a Lasallian? Well, the Lasallian core values offer us the guidelines on how one performs actions, while nationalism is how we act upon the nation, with the core values in our minds. Both nationalism and the core values complement each other through developing a sense of altruism in decision making, since your decisions not only affect yourself but also others. Additionally, they share parallels with each other because it serves as the means for people to develop the Filipino identity, with both aiming for the betterment of the nation. So that's all for the nationalism and the core values of a Lasallian. And I hope you guys were able to pick up something new today from our group. Once again, I am Kim C, and with me are Jonas Lafiguera, Joseph Canayon, Moses T, and Samson Kua. Thank you for listening.